but in the Middle East. We cannot stay silent. We cannot rely on the government to take care of our people. We have to do it. You, all standing here, you are the leaders of your community. Continue this struggle. Continue to fight every day, because look at the conditions they put my people in. My people are down, but they've survived so much. And it's with this strength that I bring courage, strength, honor, pride. We stand for something. And I say, long live Palestine. Long live the indigenous people. May they know that we are here standing in solidarity with them. We have gotten up. We've been kicked down so many times. But look at where we're standing. Look at the strength. We care. That's why we're here. Canada and Israel have committed the biggest crime against humanity, and they should be ashamed of themselves. I'm very honored to be here to speak for my people, because when you see the devastation, you see the parallels here from Canada to Palestine, the indigenous women, the missing and murdered women, the children, our elders, total destruction. How can they say it's an equal war when they're using so many bombs against Gaza and Palestine? I say shame on Israel. Do they not have a conscience? This is a moment, and I'm really honored. And I say I'm very honored that you're listening to me speak, because what they're doing here in Canada, they're doing 100 times worse in Palestine. My partner is from Palestine. He's from Lebanon, and he has a difficult time. But he tells me, you know, when he was sent here to Canada, they changed his name. They changed his date of birth. Total displacement.
Shame.
That's what they did to my grandfather when he came from Alaska. This is serious. They're trying to kill the race of our indigenous people. I pray for courage for my partner. I pray for courage for the people in the Middle East. And I pray for more strength, for more people to stand up and not be silent about what is going on. It is time to break the silence. It is time to stand here and say you can no longer hurt my people. You can no longer hurt those who I care for. Canada and Israel has to stop the genocide that we know they've implemented that in their system. And you know who I say is the strongest warriors out there? People standing there in the Middle East fighting. And you give them courage and strength because of what you're doing here. My hand's up to you.
My name is Omar Shaban. Most of you probably know me by my loud Palestinian voice. I am here today to introduce myself and express my extreme pride to call myself Palestinian today. I am extremely proud to have this Palestinian kafia wrapped around my neck to remind me every single moment in my life that I belong to a people that is fighting an oppressive regime and an oppressive occupation. My father is Abdullah Shaban from Jahula in northern Palestine. His father is Mustafa Shaban from the same village. My grandfather was expelled from Palestine in 1948 beat and deprived from having any access to his village and to his farms. And he passes down the message from one generation to another. And here I am, standing in front of you, expressing my support and my love and my pride in my people, the Palestinian people. We should be extremely aware that we stand here as humans, not just as Palestinians. There should be no complicity in war crimes from anybody. There should be no excuses for war crimes. There should be no excuses for genocide. We stand as humans today to say, end the occupation of Palestine. I know it's really hot today, but let us increase the temperature a little bit by the ferocity and the tenacity and the courage of our voices and say, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! End the occupation now! End the occupation now! End the occupation now! End the occupation now! I would like to introduce my friend Sid Schneid from the Independent Jewish Voices.
The gathering of people here today delivers a clear message. You don't have to be an Arab or a Muslim to support the people of Gaza. You just have to be a human being. We are all here to express our solidarity with the people of Gaza and our moral outrage against the government of Israel for the unspeakable crimes it is committing against them. Shame. I am a member of the National Steering Committee of Independent Jewish Voices Canada. That's right, Independent Jewish Voices. Like other people, more and more Jews around the world are standing up to say we are sickened by Israel's crimes. In the context of this crisis, Canadian politicians are playing a disgraceful role. While the Harper Tories and Trudeau Liberals give unqualified support to Israel, the NDP seems to have lost its voice. With our political representatives failing us, it's up to us to change their position on this issue. The people of Gaza have suffered enough. What should we be doing? We should be following the lead of Palestinian civil society, which put out a call in 2005 for people around the world to generate pressure on Israel by mounting an escalating campaign of boycott, divestment, and sanctions until this BDS campaign should be mounted until Israel ends its occupation and colonization of all Arab lands conquered in 1967 and dismantles its apartheid wall, recognizes the fundamental rights of Arab Palestinian citizens of Israel to full equality, and respects, protects, and promotes the rights of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes and properties. Proud to tell you today that Independent Jewish Voices has incorporated the founding principles of the BDS movement into our basis of unity. Wow. More and more individuals and organizations are joining up. 2 years ago, the United Church of Canada, this country's largest Christian denomination, passed a resolution calling for the boycott of products originating in occupied Palestinian territories. June of this year, the Presbyterian Church in the U.S. voted to divest from companies that enable Israel's occupation of Palestine. The Ontario wing of the Canadian Union of Public Employees has endorsed BDS. Yes! The Congress of South African Trade Unions is intensifying its BDS campaign and is calling for the expulsion of Israel's ambassador. There's an international petition circulating calling for the International Soccer Federation, known as FIFA, to suspend Israel until it respects the human rights of Palestinians and observes international law. all of our churches, synagogues, mosques, gurdwaras, trade unions, sports clubs, social clubs, and other groups to take up the Palestinian cause. If you are a member of one of these groups, please take up the issue in your organization. Convince others to take up a stand for justice. If you need help on any of this, please feel free to approach any of the sponsoring organizations of today's demonstration. Actors and musicians have a role to play. According to Hollywood Reporter newspaper, celebrities including Jon Stewart, director Jonathan Demme, Tori Amos, Rob Schneider, Kim Kardashian, Mark Ruffalo, Anthony Bourdain, Roger Waters, NBA stars Dwight Howard and Amare Stoudemire, Italian goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon, Mia Farrow, scientist Stephen Hawking, and singer Annie Lennox are among those who have weighed in to support the people of Gaza and criticize the Israeli government's behavior. Irish musician Sinead O'Connor canceled the scheduled performance in Israel, saying she was doing so in order to adhere to the cultural boycott of Israel. Movie stars Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem have signed an open letter denouncing Israeli genocide. Director Pedro Almodovar and other representatives of the Spanish film industry are urging the European Union to condemn the bombing of Palestinian civilians. Brazil, Chile, Ecuador, El Salvador, and Peru. All of these countries have recalled their ambassadors from Israel. In closing, I'd like to say we have to leave today's demonstration, each of us committing to take action to put pressure on Israel and to change the shameful position of Canada's politicians. Please join me to shout out, "Justice for Palestine! Stop the assault on Gaza! Lift the siege! End the occupation! BDS!
So our next speaker is Gaber Matt, anti-Zionist, a long-time supporter of Palestinian and national rights. Please welcome him.
Thank you. Actually, the name is Gabor Mate. Thanks very much. I don't need to tell you what's happening over there. I think anybody who's got eyes, who's got ears, they can see, they can hear. Anybody who's got a heart that's open, they can feel. I'd like to say a few words about the utter and almost fathomless hypocrisy that surrounds this situation. Yesterday in the New York Times, there was the headline, "Truce or a ceasefire shattered, Israeli soldier captured." The headline could have said, "Truce shattered, 90 Palestinians killed." But they don't do that. Because it's clear that from the point of view of the mainstream media, there's one side in this conversation. The other side doesn't even exist. Utter hypocrisy. As regards these captured soldiers, if indeed the soldier is captured and not killed in battle, the American Secretary of State, John Kerry, issues a statement demanding his immediate release. In Israeli jails, there are thousands of Palestinian citizens, Palestinian people, who are not even charged with any crime, or not even suspected of anything violent. They're simply opponents of the occupation. There are thousands of these people in jail who are held there, very often without charges, without trial. John Kerry or our own government has not called for the release of these people. Utter hypocrisy. At the beginning of this horrific assault on Gaza, or even before, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, makes a comment. He said, the other side, they don't believe in life. We do. And he demonstrates his belief in life by the murder of over 1,000 civilian people in Gaza and the utter devastation of an already deprived and devastated little enclave. And this hypocrisy is nowhere challenged in our media or amongst our politicians. That is their hypocrisy, and in this country, our own. In Tel Aviv, there's a military building. I think it's called Kriya. I may not have the Hebrew right. This military building is where the bombing of Gaza is coordinated, is where military activities are planned, and from where the orders are issued. This military building in Tel Aviv is right next to a major hospital in Tel Aviv. Now, are we accusing the Israelis of using civilian shields by putting this facility in the middle of Tel Aviv? Of course not. Utter hypocrisy. The sad fact is that people are outraged when we talk about Zionism as racism. Well, Zionism may not be racism in its theory, but let's look at it in practice. The media keeps talking about the Hamas charter that calls for the destruction, if you will, of the state of Israel, which to the Palestinians is simply a colonial occupying state. What nobody talks about is that the charter of Israel's governing party, the Likud party, absolutely denies the existence or the right of the Palestinians to a state of their own. They call for the free settlement of Jews from the sea to the Jordan River. Nobody calls upon the Likud party, which actually holds the reins of government in Israel, to give up their charter. That's only about Hamas. Again, utter hypocrisy. The fact remains that as I stand here today, and as I'm giving you this talk here today, I could get on an airplane tomorrow, go to Israel, claim the right of return, and be made a citizen immediately, with no questions asked, because I'm Jewish. The right of return, meaning that maybe 2,000 years ago, some of my ancestors happened to live there. The Palestinian speakers amongst us, including my friend Hana Kawas, who I think is from Haifa, but somewhere in Palestine, he cannot even visit. He cannot even visit. What about this right of return? If the principle that people expelled from their homeland should have the right to return, why not Hannah and why me? Now, if that's not racism, exactly what is it? Benjamin Netanyahu, in his speech announcing the onslaught to Gaza, or no, possibly at the funeral of the 3 settler youth that were killed, which incidentally they blamed on Hamas, knowing full well that Hamas had nothing to do with it, as has since transpired. But Benjamin Netanyahu made this speech, and he said that they glorified terrorists. They named streets and squares after them. We don't do that. The reality is that in Israel, there's any number of squares and streets named after people called Shamir, after people called Begin, after people called any number of Israeli generals guilty of war crimes, after people who were engaged in specific acts of terror against civilian populations. And yet Netanyahu is capable of making the statement with a straight face, and nobody in the press challenges him. Again, utter hypocrisy. So I think we've got work to do. The population in Canada, it's great to see all these people here. It's encouraging, it's heartening to see all these people here. It's also heartening to see that although Israel is still capable of carrying out their war crimes against the Palestinian population, they're no longer doing so behind a total screen of impunity. The world is watching. The politicians are not. The leaders are not. The media are not. And they all have their own reasons for their silence and for their self-willed blindness. But more and more people are awake. And as Sid also said, more and more Jewish people are awake. I know that 20, 30 years ago, when there was a few of us in the Jewish community who raised our voices in support of some justice in Palestine, we felt very alone, very isolated. That's no longer the case. There are significant organizations now, both within and outside the Jewish community, who are dedicated in bringing the truth to people here. And I'm telling you, and my final comment is this, that it's up to us here who know what's going on to spread the news, to tell people the truth, to direct people to the right sources. It's not possible anymore in the days of the internet for anybody to say, I didn't know and I had no way of knowing. People have all kinds of ways of knowing. All they have to do is to go to news programs that tell the truth. All they have to do is to listen to the Israeli historians who've told the story of the Nakba and the massacre and expulsion of the Palestinians in 1947, 1948. All they have to do is listen to voices like Rabbi Henry Siegman, who's former head of the American Jewish Congress and former head of the American Council of Synagogues, who tells us exactly the way it is. To Israeli historians who, like Ilan Pappé, who tell the truth about what's going on. To Israeli journalists like Gideon Levy and Amir Haas, who daily tell their people the truth about what's going on. So no longer can anybody claim, no longer can anyone say with a straight face, oh, I didn't know, I had no way of knowing. You might have said that in Germany 60 years ago, 70 years ago. You cannot say it today. But there's a lot of confusion out there. People are genuinely confused. The media does not tell the truth. People are busy. It's up to all of us as individuals to speak to as many people as we can and to make our voices heard in as many forms as possible to bring people the truth. Because I'm telling you, anything that's based on such a lie, anything that's based on such hypocrisy, anything that's based on such oppression, and the Bible tells us this as well, simply cannot endure. But it's up to us to keep the light of truth flickering and burning ever more brightly. Thank you.